Have you ever wondered why, no matter how much you achieve, no matter how far you run, no matter how many masks you wear, you still can't seem to escape yourself? You wake up in the morning, and before the world even sees you, you already feel the weight of your own judgment. That quiet voice that whispers, "You should have done better, you should be further, you should be someone else by now." And maybe you bury that voice under work or entertainment or endless scrolling. Maybe you silence it with distractions, relationships, substances, or the pursuit of status. But deep down, there is no escape from the self you are forced to live with every single day. This is the silent prison most people never acknowledge. Not the prison of society, not the prison of politics, not even the prison of circumstance, but the prison of the self you refuse to face. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Until you confront it, until you turn inward and see yourself clearly, you will carry this cage with you wherever you go. The German philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why to live can bear almost any how." But he also warned of the danger of not knowing yourself, of living blindly under values that were never your own. He believed that most people spend their lives as shadows, imitating the herd, adopting beliefs they never questioned, and living a life that was never truly theirs. Dietrich Bonhoeffer, the German theologian who stood against the Nazis, once wrote that the ultimate act of resistance is to live truthfully in a world built on lies. He paid for that with his life. His lesson remains piercing. To live authentically is to accept both the burden and the responsibility of freedom. But how many of us truly dare to live freely? Most of us don't. We say we want freedom, but what we really want is comfort. We want safety. We want certainty. We want the illusion of freedom without the responsibility that comes with it. Plato illustrated this with his famous allegory of the cave. People chained in darkness, watching shadows on the wall, mistaking illusions for reality. When one prisoner is freed, he resists the painful light of truth. Because truth hurts. It requires sacrifice. It requires shattering illusions. And the hardest illusions to shatter are not about the world. They are about ourselves. Let me ask you something personal. When was the last time you sat in silence, without distraction, without music, without a screen? Just you and your own mind. And if you've ever tried it, how long did it take before discomfort set in? A restless anxiety, an itch to escape yourself. Most people can't sit with themselves for more than a few minutes without distraction. Blaise Pascal, the French philosopher, once said, "All of humanity's problems stem from man's inability to sit quietly in a room alone." He was right, because in silence, the illusions fade, and you are left with the raw, unfiltered presence of who you really are. And that is terrifying. Think of it this way. If you met yourself as a stranger, if your soul walked through the door and sat across from you, would you enjoy the company? Would you be proud of that person? Or would you feel ashamed, exposed, uncomfortable? This is the confrontation most people avoid their entire lives. And yet, the irony is this: the very thing we fear, knowing ourselves, is the only path to freedom. Machiavelli wrote about power and politics, but his insights about human nature are equally brutal and true. He observed that people will betray, deceive, and manipulate not necessarily because they are evil, but because they are weak and ruled by fear. And this weakness is not only out there in the world, it lives in us. The masks we wear, the lies we tell, the games we play, they are shields to cover our inner fragility. But what if instead of endlessly maintaining the mask, you stripped it away? Here's the paradox. The self you are running from is the same self you need to embrace. Your weakness, your flaws, your failures, they are not enemies to be destroyed, but teachers to be listened to. The moments you feel ashamed of, the mistakes you hide, the fears you bury, those are the keys to your liberation. Think of the caterpillar. Before it can become a butterfly, it must dissolve entirely in the cocoon. Its very body breaks down into chaos before it transforms. That is what self-confrontation feels like. Dissolving everything you thought you were, breaking apart the old identity so that something new, something freer can emerge. But most people never make it through. They cling to the old skin, terrified of dissolving, and so they die as caterpillars who never learn to fly. So here is my challenge to you: stop running. Stop hiding behind distractions. Stop numbing yourself with shallow pleasures. Stop waiting for the world to change before you do. Sit with yourself. Confront the voice you've been avoiding. Admit the truth you've buried. And then, begin the slow, painful, liberating work of becoming who you were always meant to be. Because the greatest prison is not outside, it is inside. And the key has been in your hands all along. When you strip away the illusions, when you face the darkness, when you embrace the self you fear most, you will discover something extraordinary. That the person you were running from was not a monster, not an enemy, not a curse. It was simply you, raw, imperfect, unfinished. A work of art still being carved by the chisel of life. And perhaps the greatest act of courage is not to conquer the world, but to conquer yourself. So ask yourself now, will you keep running? Or will you finally stop, turn inward, and meet the only person you've been trying to avoid all along? Yourself? Because until you do, you will never truly be free.